Good evening and welcome to a very special interview show of the Prode. Today it's my pleasure to have Shri Shahmahmood Mikhel sir on the Prode. Sir has served as the first acting Minister of Defense in Government of Afghanistan and also as the Honorable Governor of Nargar Province. Today he is with us to discuss the security and peace challenges in Afghanistan and the way forward. Thank you very much, sir, for taking out the time and a very warm welcome to the Prode.
Thank you very much for hosting me, and it's my pleasure to talk with you.
Sir, I would like to start by asking, how do you see the United States exit from Afghanistan? Was it too sudden or it was pre-planned? Kindly express your views on the topic.
So it was both. It was sudden withdrawal because after the President Biden announced they will leave Afghanistan in September, but they start withdrawal in July or ended withdrawal in July. So it was a sudden withdrawal, which was not well planned. But it was planned many years back because many people in the Afghan government and also the US or international community, they were believing there is no military solution to Afghanistan problem. And so let's focus on peace process and then eventually to have a deal. And then the US or international forces will leave Afghanistan. Unfortunately, for the last almost 9 years, when the peace process initiative has started and the Qatar office opened for peace talks, so there was no progress. And unfortunately, Taliban used this forum of Qatar as a more like political recognitions and undermine the Afghan government, and also in the end, a deal which was signed between the US and Taliban, which is one of the former national security advisor of the US, McMaster. He just said this is not deal. This was deal of surrender the power to Taliban. And so that's happened. And so it is both planned and also sudden withdrawal.
Okay. What is your assessment of the reason why United States decided to end its physical presence in Afghanistan?
If you look in the beginning, in 2001, the US coming to Afghanistan, went to Afghanistan, it was not also pre-planned. It was based on the reaction to September 11. And that was the reason, from the very beginning, the mission was not clear. So it was a counterterrorism, it was a nation building, or the US has a strategic goals or objectives in the regions. So for each objective, you have different tools and strategy and planning and others you're supposed to do. So it was a mix of, going back and forth. Yes, the US spent a lot of time in Afghanistan. They had blood and treasure, they spent in Afghanistan. But every year, the policy was changing. The approach was changing. So that was, we didn't build right institutions to fight either counterterrorism or to have a nation building. Of course, there are other elements beside the US, which is the Afghan government or leadership. They should, also fulfill, or should, fulfill their own obligations because no nation can be built by only outside supporters if the people internally, they don't believe to work for their own government and to build their own government. So that was a one issue. And the other important issue was the partnership. For example, Pakistan was, in one way, it was a partner with the US to fight terrorism. But in another way, they were supporting the Taliban and terrorism in Afghanistan, and so this was another issue. So the partnership of the U.S. partnership, both with the Afghan government and also with Pakistan and other countries in the region, it was hate and love marriage. So it was not sincere. Each one, trying to undermine others, and they have their own goals and objectives, and so eventually we ended up with this failure.
Okay, sir. So, coming to Taliban, what are your views on the smooth transfer of the power between the Ghani government and the Islamic Emirates? Also, how big of a role did Pakistan play in the whole power shift?
So it was not a smooth transition. So we, as the Taliban take over, it is now they don't know how to deal with these things, how to run the government, and also the region or international community, they don't know how to respond, because the narrative was that Taliban's change. Taliban will, have a inclusive government, will have a, believe on democratic governance, and Taliban 02 will be better than the Taliban 01. But reality, it is not like that. Taliban is, yes, change for the worst. And it is, if you look to the cabinet they announced, look to, the target killing in the country, poverty is existing. So that was still the leadership has not come out. Either he's alive or dead, whatever, is to explain what is their mission, vision, for the country. Even the head of this Raisul Wazara, even he has not talked with the media. He has not spoken so far. So no one knows exactly what is their mission. Even Pakistan, which, obviously and openly, supported and supporting the Taliban, or Qatar or other countries who are, have a sympathies, with Taliban, they have not recognized Taliban. They are lobbying for other worlds. They are lobbying for the international community to recognize the Taliban, but they don't recognize it. So instead of that, if you lobby for somebody else, you have to take actions. You should recognize, the government there. So they knew the way the Taliban are moving forward, maybe not achieve their objectives also, because Pakistan would like to have 100% control, which is not possible.
Okay, sir. So what is your assessment of the new regime of the Taliban, which started from the 15th of August till now? Like, have there been any radical changes in the governance style of the Taliban, or it is the same what it was before it in the previous regimes?
Well, I said it is become worse than the previous, because at least a system was functioning before. There were, institution, judicial, parliaments, executive branch, they were existing. Of course, there was a problem. There was issues existing, but people want better government than the previous one. But now everything is stopped. Judicial system is not functioning. Parliament is not existing. Executive branch, they replaced the old the people who were working in the government, and they appointed their own, mullahs or religious people. They don't know how to run the administration or government, and thousands or hundreds, tens of thousands of people, which is human resources, they left the country. So poverty existing, if you have a news, one slogan the Taliban had, we will bring the peace or stability. Peace is not there. Yes, peace maybe for outside world might be there, but there's no peace for Afghan, because every day you see, people are targeted, they killed in the cities. If you go to Jalalabad, Every day there's a target killing, and even the Taliban didn't take the responsibility for that. Okay, and then you saw the suicide bombs in Kunduz
Yeah.
and Kandahar and in Kabul, and so these are uh, demonstrates they are not capable on the military side, they are not capable on the governance side, and they are not capable on the development sides to provide services to the people.
Okay. Okay, sir. There
And
have been,
also,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
also the government, officials, they didn't get their salaries for the last few months.
yeah. Okay. Sir, there have been several news reports that Afghanistan's economy is collapsing. How can the United Nations and the leading economies of the world contribute towards re-strengthening Afghanistan's economy with of course, it's a very difficult job. So what urgent steps are needed?
There are two, three issues. One is how to address the humanitarian issues of Afghanistan and support the Afghan people. That should happen. The UN should have a good engagement, with the Taliban, allow the international community to deliver assistance to the people. It does not mean to empower the Taliban, does not mean to, Taliban have a control on that. So this should be through a mechanism, then should have a good monitoring system. That these assistance will reach to the people in the villages and districts in the cities of Afghanistan. That is a one thing. And the second is, humanitarian assistance is good, but this is not the solution. Solution, you need a functional government, democratic system to collect their revenues. They have a budget, and then they explain it to the people, and then generate their own resources. If that's not happened, for example, in the last 3 months, Taliban have not put a budget, how much they collected, how they spend it, who is collecting, and who is, and where they are spending this money. So many people say, okay, yes, there was a corruption in the previous government, but for my own experience, Taliban are more corrupt than the previous government, because these are, groups of drug dealers, criminals, and mafia, national or regional mafia. They are collecting resources from different parts of the countries, and they use it for the last 2 decades. For example, they get money from the mines of gold mines from Badakhshan. They get it from marbles, and also they get it talks, from Nangarhar. When I was there, they have a revenue around $14 million from the Turkham Jalalabad highway. When I was there, it was cut off, but before they got these things, and also they got money from each implementation of each projects. So this is, different estimation was going on from 500 to $1.5 billion Taliban were collecting from different sources. But what they have done with that money, even they have not built a single school, or even they have not built a single mosque in the country. So meaning is they, their leaders, commanders, and others, they got this money and they use it, and they have a comfortable life, most of them in Pakistan or in Gulf and other places.
Yeah. So you talked about criminals and bomb blasts. So what is their equation with ISIS?
ISIS, these are all, unfortunately, as products of Pakistan government policy, the military. They use non-state actors for their strategic dip policy in Afghanistan and the region. This is like in franchise. They have a different groups for different people, and they support one and another. They don't want to empower one group, then they will not have a control on that. So when I was in Nangarhar, most of these ISSK, which was defeated during my time when I was there, when we captured the last stronghold in 18 districts, most of them were from Orakzai tribe from Punjab. 80-90% of them, and this was different groups, changing loyalties. The Mujahideen group, they went to TTP and they went to ISSK. Of course, there were some outside links. When I was there, some of the people who were ISSK people, they were captured or surrendered from other countries, there were just not that many. Some were from India and some were from Iran. They were also from Syria and Jordan, and Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and other from 10 countries, even from Maldives, 1 or 2 people. But the number was not big. Most of those people, they came through Iran to Afghanistan. When we had an interview with them. So it is, construct narrative. And most of these groups, they were created, supported for different objectives.
Yeah. So coming to women's rights and women's education, what is the current status of Afghan women in terms of education after the Taliban takeover? Because I have read several reports on the fact that, women are preferring online education and are preparing on their own, and they are not allowed to go to educational institutions.
No, it is not women. The men also, as high schools are closed for women. The universities is closed for men and women both, and in fact, just like 2 days ago, the new head of the Kabul University, they said we don't have money to run the university, and so it is closed. So men and women cannot go both. Of course, they have a clear policy on women. They have a separate, classes and others. Or condition is not ready for them to be educated, which is doesn't make sense. So it should be education for all, for men and women in Afghanistan. And unfortunately, they don't understand the consequences of closing universities and others. If you close universities for 1 year, it has a huge impact. And also many professors, lecturers and others, they left the country. And so it is a huge setback for the people of Afghanistan.
So what is the current status of Afghan women in terms of individual freedom and personal liberty? Because there have been several reports that, women are brutally killed and all of that stuff. So how different is it from the previous government?
It is huge differences. In previous government, it was, with all their problem, it was democratic government, and people criticized the government, people coming out, they expressed their views, the freedom of assembly was existing. No one could, say there was a parliament was there, 30% of MPs were women, and all the government bureaucracy women were included there. So they had a lot of freedom and say in the government policies. And they could criticize the government also, which is in the democratic society. You have rights to criticize your own government and have a freedom of speech, assembly, and others. Unfortunately, that is not existing under Taliban, not for men, but for women, but it is for men also.
Yeah.
Because we have reports, those people who criticize Taliban, even in social media, they were executed and they were beaten and they punished them.
Yeah. So I would like to conclude by asking that where do you see Afghanistan in the coming years and what is the way forward?
Unfortunately, we are not in a good situation. We don't know how much, pressure international community or regional actors will have. And we don't know how political opposition will emerge. Unfortunately, right now, for any political opposition, it is armed opposition or political opposition, you need national credible leaders. And that is missing now. Yes, you have pockets of groups here and there, but cannot represent the people of Afghanistan. And so this is some things, there are so many unknowns. We will see how it will emerge in the next few months or years.
Yeah. Any expectations from the international community?
International community just, there are two versions. One is, okay, this is Afghan problem. It is a regional problem. That is a one, they have to deal with that. But unfortunately, when the Soviet forces left Afghanistan in 90s, and the international community left it to the region, and what's happened after that, September 11 has happened, and the world suffered from that. So if the international community just leave it to the regional actors, we will have a proxy wars in Afghanistan, and we will have a emerging of more terrorist groups, and it will be a danger. Of course, Afghanistan will suffer or have suffered in this whole, many years, but the region will suffer, even Pakistan will suffer, and also the international community will suffer. So, meaning disengagement for the international community is not a solution, and I don't see it is, in the long run, it will be a problem for everyone.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, and we really hope that situation gets on the track in Afghanistan. On this note, thank you so much, sir, for taking out the time and speaking to us, and very thankful to you for sharing your insightful thoughts. Thank you.
Nice to talk with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.